So bisexual cinema doesn't actually exist. It's just a phase between people deciding if they like gay films or heterosexual films. I'm just kidding. Please don't get me for that. That's a joke. That's a joke. Ira Sachs' new film, Passages, is a bisexual film involving a man and his partner who are on the very end stages of their marriage. And all of a sudden, another third party, female, gets involved in this situation and things go even crazier. Passages is an excellent film that I had a great time on. Now, I will be roughly talking about the film. I'm not going to be jumping deep into exactly what happens in the story, but if you want to go in clean, you should go watch this movie first. Now, Ira Sachs is the director of a movie called Love is Strange and also Keep the Lights On, but this by far is one of the best films that I've seen of his so far. The pacing of this film is top-notch. There are no real slow moments, even though the film doesn't utilize traditional coverage at moments, and I think there is a lot of good use in that, actually, to create tension, and this film is just filled with tension from beginning to end. To call this movie a love triangle, it kind of has a preconceived idea of what those types of movies are. And I feel like it's not really a traditional type of love triangle. It is definitely a different approach to that, especially when you have different sexualities being involved in it. This film has this incredible tension throughout, especially brought on from one of the characters. Kind of gave me this impression of like Uncut Gems, like where you see this character just continually making the wrong decisions and you're like, what are you doing? I think everybody is perfect in the roles that they were given. You might recognize the actress who was also in Blue is the Warmest Color, and I don't want to mispronounce her name, but she's also in that film and she appears here, and she's also perfectly cast. Gives a very stoic performance that you can read a lot of her body language in. She's just a wonderful addition to the film. And Ben Whishaw, he's in this too. And I think his performance also mirrors hers, that they're kind of dealing with this tornado of a person played by, I can't pronounce his name, it's a German actor, but I think he does also a wonderful job. But just all three leads, everybody is just wonderful in this. And the main character is one of those people that he's just a narcissist at the end of the day. You feel like he just thinks about himself, even down to the way he dresses, and the wardrobe was excellent in showing that. There's a good example of this. There's a scene where he meets the parents that are potentially going to be his future in-laws, and he's just meeting them, and he's just in this crop top. And it's just like, he just doesn't care. There's like no social norms in this guy. I don't know, it's a wonderful performance, but it's sad to see because this guy is just a complete just hurricane to everybody around him. I really do like the way that the film is covered in certain shots. Like, for instance, that particular scene, going back to it, when he meets the in-laws, there's a lot of moments where they hold the shot, and you usually see a shot reverse shot, especially for dinner table scenes, but they just hold the shot, especially when there's a very kind of contentious moment, and it just creates even greater tension because you don't know what's about to happen. And the film does play a lot in these sort of single takes where they decide to just hold, and you would think that cutting more would create more tension, but actually holding a shot creates such a more anxious emotion. Some controversy surrounding the film, and the director has been upset about this, was that the film was rated NC-17. And having seen the sex scenes, they're not that explicit. I don't know why they were. I feel like nowadays, the way that the world is and the way people have access to all sorts of movies, I feel like these scenes are not that explicit. And it's just sex. I don't know. I feel like people are so uptight about stuff like that, but it's just a natural part of being a human being. And I think they're tasteful, and I feel like the sex scenes here are actually part of the plot. They are important, especially some that happen near the end of the film. They are detrimental to conveying the complexities of emotions that sex does bring out in these people. And sex is a big character in this film. Just to slap an NC-17 rating on this that would further limit the distribution and scope of people being able to see a film like this. I don't know. I don't think that was really fair. I think it's interesting that the other film that Ira Sachs directed is called Keep the Lights On, and that also involves a filmmaker making a film within the film. And this is also happening here, especially a film I talked about a while ago called Benjamin that also deals with with a filmmaker who's making a film within a film. I just also wanted to say the main character in this also rides a bike, and I made a short about how much queer movies love their characters riding bikes. So yeah, you can now put this under bisexuals also love bikes. Passages is a super easy watch. It's one of those movies that you kind of gotta watch like that because of just the bad decision after bad decision. But it's definitely a good time, and it'll leave you thinking about it. On the beginning, I was talking about bisexual cinema, and bisexual cinema is something that, just like bisexuality in general, does get overlooked a lot. I feel like, but you could make the argument, and I've said this before on the channel, that some of the big gay films are actually bisexual films. Stuff like Blue is the Warmest Color, or Call Me by Your Name, or even Brokeback Mountain. You can make the argument that these characters are actually bisexual. Just to be clear, just because this particular film has a bisexual character who is a very despicable person, it does not mean that all bisexual people are despicable. And I know it's kind of hard sometimes when there's very little representation. Suddenly, when people get one and it's a negative one, people get really upset. But we just have to remember that this is a small example of that. It doesn't mean that somebody who's bisexual is going to be really promiscuous and just have no sense of moral center. But in this particular film, this character happens to be that way.